Welcome to Shelf Help, a channel dedicated to talking to the void about whatever book I happen to be reading. I'm your host, the reader. The following review will contain spoilers. We once again return to the Banished Lands, where the champions of the gods prepare to go to war. On one side we have the blacksmith's son, Corbin, and his ragtag warband of former thieves, ousted nobles, giants, giant hunters, religious zealots, and random villagers. On the other we have Nathir, High Prince turned High King, with his army of professional soldiers, mercenary pirates, traitor giants, demons, and one very large lizard. As I have mentioned in the reviews for Malice and Valor, if you have even a passing understanding of Judeo-Christian beliefs, you know exactly where everyone stands. There's no reason to retread that. A large part of the driving motive for most of the characters in this series is the prophecy. It's been spoken of a lot, but this is the first book where we hear it told in full. Two born of blood, dust and ashes, shall champion the choices, the darkness and the light. Black sun shall drown the earth in bloodshed, bright star with treasures unite. By their names you shall know them, Kinslayer, Kin-Avenger, Giant Friend, Deerage Rider, dark power against the Lightbringer. One shall be the tide, one the rock in the swelling sea. Before one, storm and shield shall stand, before the other, true heart and black heart. Beside one rides the beloved, beside the other the avenging hand. Behind one the sons of the mighty, the fair Ben-Elm, gathered neath the great tree. Behind the other the unholy, dread Kadoshim, who seek to cross the bridge and force the world to bended knees. Look for them when the High King calls, when the shadow warriors ride forth, when white-walled Talassar is emptied, when the book is found in the north, when the white worms spread from their nest, when the firstborn take back what was lost, and the treasures stir from their rest. Both earth and sky shall cry warning, shall herald the war of sorrows. Tears of blood spilt from the earth's bones, and at midwinter's height, bright day shall become full night. If you've been reading the books, you know a lot of these have happened. In the first book, some Stonehenge-like standing stones near Corbin's home weep blood, and during an eclipse, both Corbin and Nathir faint and have visions. They both must make a choice if they will follow Azroth, even as he presents himself as Elyon. Nathir definitely drowns the world in bloodshed. He also kills his father. Corbin is trying to avenge his father. Corbin's Wolven is named Storm, and his horse is named Shield. Nathir has Veridus, who is loyal and true, and takes vengeance on Nathir's behalf, and Caledus, who most assuredly has a black heart. In fact, at this point, the only part that doesn't come to pass is the Ben-Elm gathering beneath the great tree. Prophecies are pretty common in epic fantasy, but they usually are not this clear and direct. But here's the thing, and spoiler warning, jump ahead if you want to avoid the twist. Mikkel says it's not true. He made it up himself. Corbin wasn't chosen by Elyon, but by the angel. By Mikkel. My thoughts? Bullshit. He says it's part of a long-term scheme to force Caledus to dance to his tune. And it works, sort of. Caledus takes the prophecy as gospel and follows it to the letter. Which brings up a couple of problems. What was the plan here? Like, sure, get Caledus to play to your tune, but why this tune? Leave aside all the biblical alliterations for a minute, and let's assume Mikkel still chooses Corbin to be the Messiah. Why hand the High King, with all his wealth and resources, to Caledus? Why not make it someone with far less reach? Why declare that the treasures need to be brought together, knowing that this is a bad thing? Hell, make Caledus' life hard. Divide his resources. Make him place all 7 treasures 666 leagues from each other in an inverted 7-point star of creation. He'd be tromping all over the map, leaving magic items and chunks of his army to guard them everywhere to accomplish absolutely nothing. Why say the Ben Elm will gather underneath the great tree if you don't actually have a way to get them there? You got Caledus coming in full bore, expecting a fight with a holy host, the good guys expecting divine backup. It's really no surprise it went horribly and predictably wrong. Mikkel had how many centuries to work this out, and this was the best he could come up with? This is a bad plan. That said, a lot of this has come true, and not in the vague tilt your head and squint in just the right light sort of way. Take the line about a storm and a shield. Corbin names his woven and horse unprompted and without knowing the prophecy. That's a pretty specific line to come true in a pretty specific way. There's no metaphor, it's literally two animals he named, and both protect him several times. They even break out of a fortress together to come to his aid when he's about to be ridden down. It is very on the nose. Now Mikkel admits he's wondering if there's been some divine intervention, and I fully expect he's going to be right on this point. For those of you who skipped ahead, welcome back. Let's talk about Mikkel and Caledus. They both fill the same role for their respective sides, advising their gods chosen and bringing about their desired end to the god war. Mikkel is a planner. He spends decades carefully maneuvering all his pieces into place so his allies are in seats of power at the right moment. Caledus takes a wrecking ball to all his hard work in a few short years. The big difference is that Caledus knows people. Mikkel spends a lot of time with kings and generals planning for a divine war, but he did not spend a lot of time with people. Pre-Corbin, he never spent any real time with just one person. No sharing drinks while I shot the shit. No interest in personal lives. As if they were just pieces on his chessboard and nothing more. Which is why it's so easy for Caledus to come along and flip the table. While Mikkel is running all over the map, having very important conversations with very important people, Caledus learned about what makes a person tick. What do they love? What do they want? What are they willing to do or give up for these things? What will break them? A king who would otherwise do the best for his people may have a blind spot for his own son. Or he may be doing the good for the whole that may not be good for one person and leave them nursing a grudge. Or someone may just want power. Caledus helps you take what you want, and then you help him in return. And if Caledus wants your help and you won't play ball, well, nothing a little hostage-taking or voodoo doll can't fix. Mikkel even confesses to Corbin how odd he finds people. Taking actions they know aren't tactical because it's the right thing to do. Which brings us to Veritas. He's the person I feel sorry for in this book. He is a good man who truly believes he's doing the right thing for the right side. He is Nathir's only real friend and ally, and he is completely getting screwed in this deal. Caledus, of course, separates them early, and keeps them apart until he has Nathir in hand. But when the shit hits the fan, Veritas has to make a choice. He can continue following Nathir, knowing Caledus is not what he claims to be, or he could defect. But Nathir is still his friend, and he doesn't want to hurt him. So kill the pup master. It goes about as well as you would expect. But it highlights the theme of this book. The single most important line will slip right past you if you aren't paying attention. It's what Corbin says to Mikkel. The difference between them and us is the choices we make. Corbin and Mikkel are arguing about what to do. Mikkel wants to fulfill the prophecy and head to Drusilla to prepare for the final battle. Corbin wants to keep his oath to Adana. Keep in mind, Corbin wants to go from here to here, then over to here, and all of this is enemy territory. Strategically, this is a horrible idea. And what really annoys Mikkel is that Corbin keeps picking up strays. A few villagers from a ruined village here, some survivors of an attack there, slaves stolen along with some ships. Mikkel is worried about logistics and feeding this growing warband. Corbin refuses to leave anyone behind. And the angel just doesn't understand. Then we have Nathir. I felt so bad for him at the end of the last book, finding out he was, in fact, the bad guy. And he too has to make a choice. Understand that, at this point, Caledus has systematically removed him from all his allies, one at a time and all for very reasonable reasons. So when Caledus uses the cauldron to bring the Code of Shim into the world, Nathir has no one around him who is actually loyal to him. Does he stick to his beliefs, follow Elyon, knowing full well that he is alone and the guy he's been taking advice from is the right hand of this world's Satan? Standing with Elyon in this moment is going to get him killed. Or worse. Now there are no Nathir chapters in this book, so I don't know what's going on in his head. Which is probably a good thing, because that would be a lot of navel-gazing. I like Nathir as a character. He is so earnest in wanting to do the right thing. And just watching Caledus drag him down a darker and darker path is worrying. I want him to do what is right, that he's biding his time to turn the tables on Caledus. But as the story goes on, I'm less and less willing to believe that this will happen. And by the end, I'm pretty sure it won't. Caledus is promising him the same thing he always promised him. Be High King of the United Banished Lands. And in that union, there will be peace. And they just have to curb stomp everyone into submission first. But is peace at the point of a sword really peace? And of course, Caledus, who has been lying to Nathir all this time, assures him he will absolutely still be High King of the Banished Lands. Azeroth only really wants to be brought into the mortal realm. Sure. And this is what Corbin means. Corbin is chasing what he believes in as well, keeping his oath to Adana. But not at all cost. He won't leave people behind, and when faced with a blockade that he can't break, he turns away rather than risk the lives of those following him. Instead of trying to fight a larger, better-equipped warband, he uses clever tricks to draw them away while his people make a run for it. He still intends to fulfill his oath, just not by sacrificing everything else. He puts his desires second to the lives of other people. Nathir thinks his will is the greater good, and there's no sacrifice too large to fulfill those ambitions. And I choose to compare Corbin and Nathir not just because they are the Bright Star and Black Sun, respectively, but because neither is openly evil. It is easy to see Caledus as evil. He gleefully uses voodoo to puppet along those who won't cooperate. He takes hostages, lies, steals, murders, and betrays. There's nothing he won't do to win, and do it with a smile on his face. Caledus presents himself as Ben Elm, and Nathir never questions him after that. Not when he's told to murder his father, or when he helps bring down a king through inaction, or when he betrays allies. He follows blindly, and then falls into a sunk cost fallacy. He's already done terrible, seemingly unforgivable things. Thousands are already dead, more are displaced. So he might as well see it through, because it will be worth it in the end. Right? Truth and courage. Truth and courage. It always comes back to truth and courage. Do you have the courage to seek the truth, to accept the truth, to act in accordance to the truth, even if it will cost you everything? I'm going to put this on my top shelf. This series still isn't very surprising. Mikkel's confession was a bit unexpected, but it was almost immediately hedged. Overall, I still really enjoyed the series and look forward to the final book. Thank you for your time. Everyone's mileage will vary, so feel free to leave your thoughts.